Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I finally get to discuss one of my favorite shows I've seen so far, Friends. And that too, it is one of the most popular shows around the world and still popular despite being set in the 90s. I have only discovered it last year and watched it properly then. And speaking of now, it was such an amazing experience to see the full cast again together after nearly 2 decades. And this reunion was not just an ordinary talk show. The cast actually revisited the set, reminiscing and even reenacting different scenes and hearing different voices of opinion from others about the show, various different people around the world, and even retrying the outfits and seeing some of the guest stars in appearance. So the reunion opens recapping the final scene of the show. This was the scene where Monica finally clears out her apartment and the friends have a last cup of coffee together and prepare for their own ways as they all have their own families now. As you see, the apartment is empty and they're all walking out. This scene certainly marked the end of an era, and the fact that this was summarized first kind of shows the whole continuity of them getting back together after such a long time. And now we get to the present. We see David Schwimmer walk in first, and obviously, as you know, he's the one who portrayed Ross. And it does show him entering the Central Perk set and giving his comments on it. Then comes Lisa Kudrow, Phoebe Buffay. And now Jennifer Aniston. Apparently, Jennifer Aniston was consistently late to the set during the old days of shooting the show, so it's maybe a little surprising that she came third this time. And let me tell you, these three do not look very different from their original days. And there comes Matt LeBlanc, Joey. He actually does look quite different, but for what I saw in the reunion, he still has all his charm, which is amazing. And there comes Courtney. So after the full cast kind of, give the initial overviews of the same apartment set, the title sequence goes on summarizing the episode this whole episode. And what I really love to see was this in the title sequence, taking a selfie of all the other friends. But let me tell you, technology has revolutionized the world as we know it today. Friends would be a completely different show if it was filmed in the era where everyone had smartphones. Could that be any more obvious? So then here we go. James Corden talks to the cast on stage in front of a live audience. This is kinda when it started to get emotional. One of the questions he asked is, "Are you still in touch?" Lisa Kudrow answered, "Maybe not every day, but our bond is so strong." This kind of shows that friendships do last forever, but as you move on, it is difficult to keep in touch, and it is completely understandable. But you should still kind of message each other to see how things are going for them very occasionally. It will still really make the cast then went back on set, and reenactments kind of started. Joey and Chandler, right now, did recline on the seats like they did earlier when they used to watch Baywatch together. Generally, it seemed the memories of the cast actually did fade away a lot, but they do remember a lot of things at the same time. I think one of the episodes they first reminisced was the ball throwing episode, where Ross and Joey threw the ball for I don't know how many hours. This part was cool as they kind of reenacted one of the best episodes of season 4, which is the one with the embryos. But instead here, they asked a bunch of different questions about the show itself. As you know, this episode was where Chandler and Joey compete with Monica and Rachel for their apartment.
Get your apartment. What is Chandler Bing's job?
Oh, he's a transmonster! That's not even a word!
What is certainly funny is how mysterious Chandler's career was to the other friends. I wonder how Rachel came up with the idea of transmonster. What was she thinking? Well, as an aviation enthusiast, I would link closely to the word transponder, and maybe she did too. If you don't know, transponder is simply a device which receives and transmits radio signal. In the case of aircraft, that is to identify the position on air traffic control screen. But let's keep the technical part out of this video. In case you guys don't know yourself, Chandler's occupation actually is statistical analysis and data reconfiguration. Some of the reunions certainly were funny and did make me laugh. And it actually did kind of make me laugh when the question asked was, were Ross and Rachel on a break? "We were on a break" is obviously one of the most iconic quotes of Friends. And it does remind me of that episode where you did hear it. I think the first time, season 4, episode 1. How many pages? It was 18 pages. Front and back! I can't do the voice well right now. From here, I really got to see the chemistry between Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer, even now on set. And the chemistry was always present throughout shooting. But the way their relationship was portrayed on the series was a slight contrast only. it being on and off. Well, given all the relationships and divorces Ross has been through, I'm actually glad they got back together at the end of the series. Well, in this same scene, it was nice to see more guest stars walk in, including Mr. Heckles. I forgot the name of the actor, but also Reese Witherspoon, who played one of Rachel's sisters, and Tom Selleck, who played Richard. From here, we should say we need to appreciate the guest stars who played their roles in the show. They were the icing on the cake. I wish maybe more guest stars did appear in the reunion, but I am satisfied that a lot of them showed up. And I think more come later on. It kind of leads to all the different perspectives of the show from many people around the world, and that was interesting to watch. I mean, certainly it was cool to see some people like activist Malala Yousafzai talk good about a show like this. I certainly loved the show, but this part really brought back many perspectives. It was actually cool to hear that people watch Friends to give them company. And I'm glad it worked for you guys this way. Another part I really enjoyed about the reunion was the different cast members reading out the script again, expressively. And they may sound different now when they do it, but still, they represented the whole scene the best they could. And one of the episodes they did do this to is actually also one of my favorites, and it's in season 5, the one where everybody finds out. And as we see, fans really love the idea of Chandler and Monica being together. So the writers really worked hard to kind of maintain their relationship after that London scene. This episode, the one where everyone finds out, is once again one of my favorites. The whole ongoing drama as everyone gradually finds out about Monica and Chandler's relationship. Rachel and Joey likely have known about it earlier, but Phoebe's reaction gets me every time. Oh my god, the drama! And the way Ross comes in here, best.
Oh God, they were just so excited that you might get this apartment.
Oh, what a clown. Ross didn't find out here, but unfortunately he found out at the end of the episode, in not the best way. But I'm not going to show you the scene now, but if you do see Ross finding out, see the contrast in his emotions. But let me tell you, I can say Chandler and Monica are really the best couple of the show. So let's advance. As you know, Phoebe Buffay did depend on playing her music to Central Perk particularly. And Smelly Cat is one of her songs. It was cool to see the scene where Lady Gaga actually joined in and played it. This time Phoebe wasn't angry. Phoebe has grown a lot.
Really, Lisa Kudrow, you're the loudest.
Yeah.
Actually pretty surprised to hear that even now Lisa Kudrow has the loudest laugh. I could kind of relate that to Phoebe's character, but her even now. Maybe that part of her has not changed, who knows. Oh, Maggie Wheeler, Janice. Her laugh and the oh my god always remains iconic to me and other fans. She actually didn't appear in many episodes, but it is cool how she still comes out as an iconic character. And oh my god, how will I forget Chandler and Janice's relationship, particularly at the beginning of the series. We see James Michael Tyler, who played Gunther. Actually one of the quietest characters, but he remained present nearly from season 1 to 10, who was an employee at Central Perk. Overall, this reunion was amazing, and once again, it made me really rethink how I saw the show. It was cool to see how the characters developed, and how much the cast changed. This whole thing made me laugh and made me feel emotional at the same time. Although I watched Friends recently, the nostalgic element also made me feel similar in some ways. And let me tell you, I actually think back to the time of my parents when they would actually wait every day for an episode. And it must have been really upsetting back then when the show ended. One of the questions asked too at the end of the reunion is, where would you see your characters now? I think the answers provided were a little surprising. Maybe a little different, not wrong, but not really what I expected them to say. Like Joey saying he'd open a sandwich shop. I was kind of expecting them kind of more related to their jobs. But still, let me tell you, it keeps the entertainment aspect of this show, certainly. So another thing people say is, would it have been better if there were more guest stars? For instance, I'm not sure, but I do wish Paul Rudd was there because he played Mike Hannigan towards the end of the series. But I think it was still cool to see how many guest stars also showed up on this. And on a different note, it was cool to see the fashion shows and different people trying out the different outfits. I think, once Matt LeBlanc himself wore the many clothes Joey wore. In the that's based on the episode in the one where no one's ready. But it was also cool to see some things like that Thanksgiving costume, and I think Justin Bieber wearing that whole thing. Anyway, I hope this reunion was an enjoyable experience for you guys. Although it was not a new episode or a new season as people initially expected, I do feel satisfied at the output, seeing the cast getting back together. I actually think now it's kind of better that they not make a new episode, because it would have actually affected the rest of the show. And given how different the cast looks now, it would be a very different thing. And as the writers said, it would change the whole arc of the story which they originally said. Now that we talked about the reunion, let's talk more about my views on the show itself. Friends made me smile or even laugh whenever I fell down. You can even say it was a remedy for my bad days, and I know this is the same for many of you too. So I appreciate each and every character. Although they have personalities which are extreme, that part is actually useful, as it's easier to follow and enjoy, but at the same time, we can easily relate to some of them. They even represent some of the own quirks we have. Though the characters do have many downsides, they have so many reasons to be appreciated, and it would be difficult to explain many different examples in this video itself. At the same time, what one must not forget is the main theme of this show, friends. Along with the laughs, it was great to see how the friends were there for each other for support, as each of them found their way through early adult life, from relationships to career. And the ending, being very emotional, did make a great arc. And this is where, as I mentioned earlier, it would have made less sense to make new episodes. I did miss the characters certainly after watching them, but it's a type of show which you can easily rewatch wherever, on TV or anywhere. You can even just pull over any episode and still feel really good. On top of that, why don't we extract some of the life lessons this show has taught us? I'd say the career part of the show may be less commonly discussed, but it's worth going into them. For instance, I wrote down the different occupations. As we know, Joey Tribbiani was an actor, Monica was a chef. The career advancements of the show were different between all the other characters, and I think that too showed different possible outcomes and different possible ways of working towards things. For instance, I'd say with Joey, he was a struggling actor at the beginning. He went audition after audition and still struggled. But he just kept working hard towards his goal, which he really looked up to. And eventually it became a success. So for him, you can say that it kind of shows you that put in the hard work into whatever you want to do and you will become successful. Monica was obviously, she wanted to be a chef, but as you know, throughout the process, she struggled a lot. She went into many different occupations in the food industry, such as of a food critic and all, until she found her way as a head chef. And that kind of shows you that you should never give up. Ross Geller was a paleontologist. He studied all those things like dinosaurs and fossils and all, and he was really passionate about the subject, certainly. But there's big lessons I want to talk to you about based on Ross. One of that is, you should never mix your personal life and working life. From Ross making out with Rachel at the museum, to all of Ross's friends coming in the middle of a lecture and asking questions about their personal life in front of other students. Not just embarrassing, not allowed. When you're at work, you're at work. You can come back and talk to your friends. Or if they really have to call, they can call you. But they should not disrupt you at the same time. If you're a good friend, you should try not to call unless it's absolutely urgent.
I call it the moist maker. Anyway, I put my sandwich in the fridge over here.
You know what? I'm sorry. I believe I ate that.
That said, it was my
Whoa,
sandwich.
Ross.
Now calm down. Come look in my office. Some of it may still be in the trash.
You threw my sandwich away.
Whoa, Ross. Oh my god, that is loud. So, here's another lesson. You have to stay composed, particularly in the work environment. As frustrating as it may be for someone or even your boss to eat your sandwich is completely understandable. And perhaps in this particular scene, you can even say it was unfair why the boss would even just throw a sandwich away. But let me tell you, these kind of things happen and you just got to stay composed. Poor anger management can have backfiring consequences. And you did see that when Ross obviously was afterwards yet to look for another job. But it isn't always easy. Okay, let's move on to the others. We have Chandler Bing, who first did stat analysis and data reconfiguration, which Rachel surprisingly thought was a transponster. But then he switched gears and worked towards being an advertiser or a copywriter. He took a risk and changed his direction entirely, as much time as it would take to find his new way. This is an example of taking a whole risk to start anew with something else just for one's satisfaction, and let me tell you, that's one thing to follow too. Now Rachel Green, as you know, she used to be very dependent on her father, but then she moved in with her friends after escaping from a wedding. And she started working as a waitress, which is kind of the stepping stone towards being independent. And then she got big as a fashion executive. And at the end of the series, she landed her dream job in Paris, which she actually refused to take. I'm sure you remember that quite emotional scene when she got off the plane and got back to Ross. For her, it kind of shows that it's never too late to start again. So she basically kind of started her life all over again, until she fulfilled her dreams. Phoebe Buffay. Well, could you say she couldn't really care less about her career? She was a happy-go-lucky person, just dedicated to music and giving people massages. She didn't really think about money. And there we have it. These examples also show different possible paths in life. From starting all over again, to working hard and never giving up, to taking risks to change something, and trying so hard despite failure to success. Let's put another name. What about Gunther? Gunther was present from season 1 to 10, just working at Central Perk, serving food and coffee. And of course, not to mention, staring at Rachel. His job pretty much stayed the same, so we can say he had no advancement. But I'm sure he was satisfied enough. What is fun to see is Gunther is really into Rachel, but he treats the other friends so differently. But his confession to Rachel in the end of the series was emotional, when at that time Rachel was on her way to fulfill her dreams in Paris. Now let's get to the next question. Which one is my favorite character? Let me start off by saying I don't have a favorite character. I like all of them because each represent different things. If you removed even just one character from the show, it would be completely different. But who can I relate to the most? Certainly, I can relate to Chandler Bing. I kind of relate a lot to his character. I do love laughing and joking, certainly, and entertaining others, maybe even indirectly. Why else would I have made this kind of channel? And speaking of career paths, I also think that my path does relate to him. And I'm just letting you guys know that I've currently switched away from the path of business and I'm going towards geography because that subject seems to really touch my heart more than business did. I'm not gonna lie, let me tell you, Friends was one influence for me to change my path, and kudos to you, Chandler Bing. But I am still not working hard trying to find my new ways. Although I did take a big risk like Chandler, I am more satisfied. Initially, getting my new role in business was exciting, as you did see when I made videos on that subject. But there you have it. The show does not necessarily realistically show the characters working hard towards those ways. In fact, I feel they're so lucky to have so much time together at the coffee house and apartment. I wish I had that kind of life too. But after all, it is an entertaining TV show. But still, what's cool is the career part is talked about. And the different paths the characters took are also something you can certainly relate to. This kind of shows that anything is possible. You should have faith in yourself and believe in yourself. I recommend this show to those who have not watched it yet, and I can guarantee it should have the same output. If you say you don't have time, you should try to invest some time into the show, and I tell you, it will be really worth it. I'm currently watching another popular sitcom, The Office. I also really love it. It shows the quirks of different employees and of business decisions too. Seeing the different human resources and the different characters advancing too is interesting. For instance, Pam going from a receptionist to a saleswoman, that is a big leap. But The Office is worth a different series, hence perhaps another video. And I would not want to talk much about it here. And I definitely hope The Office does its own reunion too, and that would be fantastic. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what you think down below, and please subscribe for more. Peace.